today is going to be a really interesting day. I have to go over thesis statements because the last class I asked my students to write down a couple of questions on a question on an index card, and I started noticing a pattern, and one of the patterns is that students don't know what a thesis statement is, how to write a thesis statement, or how to write a good one. And it's actually really good because I had that in plan for today's class as it is. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm preparing for the class. I have about 45 minutes. I have this video that I turned in for, I have this video that I had submitted to my professor last semester on what a thesis statement is, and it kind of goes over like what is the topic and trying to answer a question, and I'm going to try to walk my students through that. The good thing is that the tutoring center that I have, they also have a handout on thesis statements and introductions, so I grabbed that, and I don't have time to scan it right now, but I'm going to show it to them, and I'm going to scan it and upload it to Canvas. And I'm going to have them try to identify what a thesis statement by using the student publication book that we have on campus. They were supposed to be reading two stories. One of the essays was A Birthday Party from Hell, and the other one was the 21st century scrapbooking, or 21st century scrapbooking. And they're gonna try to identify what a thesis statement is in those two essays, and then I'm gonna have them kind of workshop their own thesis statements in groups and have them write them down on the board. So I need to make sure I have a lot of whiteboard markers, so that way they can write down these thesis statements on the board, and as a class we can try to either clean it up or make it better. I have an idea of what the class is going to go, how the class is going to go. I'm just nervous because my professor is observing me this time. It would be okay if my professor wasn't, but at the same time, I think this is actually going to be a really good day for my professor to sit in and observe, because I haven't done group activities. I've only basically lectured and had discussion. Like, there's still going to be discussion in the beginning of the class, but I'm nervous. So I'm going to go work on this. I don't have any PowerPoint this time because I usually have a PowerPoint. I have no PowerPoint. I just have that video. I have to have them write down some notes, and fingers crossed that this session works really well. And I hope that this encourages my students to ask more questions. So I'm still going to take index cards and have them basically write down any question that comes to their mind during the class and turn these in by the end of class. Just because it looks like it's worked out really well, because they can ask, okay, how do you do an outline? And then I have a bunch of handouts that I want to show them. But this is stressful, this is difficult, but it has to work out. At the end of the day, my students really need this. And teaching this class is making me realize how much I need to refresh myself on some of these topics, because yeah, I know how to write a thesis, but I write a thesis, but I always doubt it. And having me look back and relearn some of these things is going to work out really well. So I guess in a way that makes me a good teacher, because I have to relearn the material. And that's it for now. And I'll come back and talk about how it went, I guess. Yeah, I need to upload this video on my Canvas site. Ta for now. Teacher log 8 part 2. Class went surprisingly well. Even though I felt like I wasn't properly prepared for the class, it went well. I had stories that from the book that I mentioned earlier. I had stories that the students had to identify the thesis statement, and I had them explain why. I showed them a video, which I'll link in the description below, on like 4 steps to a thesis statement. I had them do a free write on what is a thesis statement, and I had them kind of work really hard in a group to create their own thesis statements based off of the topics. I was also observed today during class, which was nerve-wracking. The moment my professor comes in, guess what happens? I drop my water bottle and my keys. And the water bottle that I have, it's a thick water bottle. So the moment you drop it, clank, clank, clank. And I was just like, oh my God, why would this happen? Now I'm usually on top of my A game. Even if I'm not prepared, I'm usually on top of my A game. And, but she just stood in the back of the classroom writing notes. I was kind of going through everything. And my students did really well. They did talk a bit more. I took attendance while the free write. I played music. I was mentally preparing myself. But the moment, like the first 15 minutes of my class, I was like, my hands were trembling. I was like, man, now my hands are getting cold. This is not cool. Like, man. But on the bright side, I knew that this was going to happen. So I dressed for the occasion. Like, I'm wearing a blazer, but it's actually a dress. I'm wearing sandals because either I get really cold or I get really hot. And I felt my face get warm. Like, I was shaking and my face was warm. And I was like, I still feel it warm. Oh my God. But I think class was okay. I don't want to say great because it was the first time I did a group activity in class. But I think they learned a lot out of it. And me having them explain why they think a thesis statement is a thesis statement was really good, because they had to keep in mind the different steps that go into writing a thesis statement. And I added everything on Canvas for them to access. I created a doc or a discussion page where the students can post the thesis that they have written as a group, so that way everyone else can see it and like, oh, aren't we reading it out loud? I'm like, yes, but you're not going to remember after this, so just type it up and post it. I did notice that some of my students did not finish or do the free write activity that I told them to do last class. So I'm going to open that up again, so that way I can get an idea of what their topic is going to be about. And I'm going to go get myself some lunch because it's a busy day today. And wish me luck for the rest of the day. Oh man, did I crack my water bottle? It's spilling. Oh well. I'm going to go grade exercises, and I'm going to go read the thesis statements and free writes that my students have written because I need it. But that's it for now. Until next time. Ta!